What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another vintage Star Wars market update. We have got a lot of really great items here. Everything from loose graded figures to loose graded die-cast vehicles with prices that will shock you. So stick around for that. We got 12 backs. We've got some later Return of the Jedi card backs. And without further ado, I think we should go ahead and dig right in. We've got a 12 back C-3PO graded AFA 80. A pretty flawless card, unpunched, no price sticker. The subgrades were 80, 85, 90. This is not the kind of thing you see come up for auction very often. And the price did not disappoint. 31 bids. It sold for $2,325. I can't comment as to whether this is a fair deal or not, but judging by some of the other 12 backs we've seen sell here recently, both at Hakes and on eBay, this price seems pretty fair. But man, you want to talk about a big number. That is certainly a big number, but it's an early 12 back and it's pretty much perfect. So congratulations to the buyer there. Here was a 12 back B Death Squad Commander graded AFA 80. It sold for $1,113. And at first blush, this seems kind of low. You know, we've documented a few 20 backs that have sold in that $950 to $1,000 range. And so you're like, well, why did a 12 back B, which is an earlier card back, sell for not much more than that? And the main reason being is that this one suffers from something we've talked about many times in many videos, and that's he's got mold growing off of his head. My wife thinks I have mold growing off of my head, but no, I just don't have much hair. It looks like mold, but this guy does have mold. And, you know, I've heard from collectors that have put it under a UV spotlight or, you know, or set it out in the sun even. And they said that the mold has been killed and it doesn't come back. I've talked to some other collectors where they said, yeah, it came back in like 2 or 3 months. So I don't know what the right protocol is for getting rid of that mold, but there is ways to get rid of it apparently. And, you know, my bigger concern, I think, other than the mold, is that if you look at right here, it looks like to me it might be the blister might be pulling off. It could be just the reflecting sunlight, you know, from the photo, but right in here especially, it does look like it's maybe pulling away a little bit. But I could be wrong on that. But between that issue, I think, and then the moldy head issue, you know, the price stayed down a little bit, I think, because of that. But you know, I'm sure that some collector who is much more knowledgeable than me is able to get rid of that kind of stuff. But here's the label on that. It was straight 80s, 12 back B, and certainly a very nice item. Here was a 12 back C Luke Farm Boy AFA 75, and you can see he's got a little bit of pink going on the limbs as well as on the legs, arms and legs there. Maybe even a little bit of yellowing on the torso. Hard to tell. It could just be bad lighting there, but there is the subscores. Let's get a closer look at the subscores. 70, 85, 80 were the subscores. 12 back C, that sold for $2,550 and change on 24 bids and free shipping. It was punched with no price sticker. But, you know, again, this goes back to what we were just talking about with the Death Squad Commander, that even inside the blister, these 12 backs, the figures can start to degrade a little bit. And I think that's certainly the case with this Luke Farm Boy there. But I don't care. I mean, give me a break. That's a beautiful item. All right, we got to dig into these die-cast sales. This is just the craziest. Some of these sales have just mind-blowing to me, and maybe you guys can explain to me why somebody's paying the prices they are. Now, this was an AFA graded, loose graded, die-cast Darth Vader TIE Fighter. Uncirculated 85. So somebody pulled this off the card, straight off a beat-up card, and had it loose graded. Now, AFA does not loose grade the die-cast anymore, to my knowledge. So these uncirculated die-casts, there's probably a fairly small population of those, at least with AFA. It was U85. It was listed for $700, and the final sales price was $600. Now, I want to emphasize something here. I've got this one, and it's in a much better case than the way this presents, in my opinion. I've got a Collector Archive Services case. If you have any loose die-cast vehicles, folks, go to collectorarchive.com and check out their loose die-cast vehicle cases. Or you can go back on my channel and search. But the cases are much better presentation. It's got kind of a nice ramp, and it kind of really presents nicely. And my Vader vehicle graded, I think, an 85 plus. I'm going on memory. Now, I paid $65 for my die-cast Darth Vader TIE pilot or TIE vehicle. And then, you know, it's probably about, I don't remember the exact cost, but after shipping to and from, it's, let's call it $100 to grade it. So I've got less than $200 in mine, graded 85 plus by CAS, versus paying $600 for an uncirculated. So there's clearly a premium. I get that, you know, if this had, you know, maybe if this was a collector archive services uncirculated 85, it'd probably be worth more than my straight 85 plus, just because of the uncirculated designation. Some collectors are willing to pay a premium for that. But to pay that massive of a premium, we're talking over three times what I have in mind for a similar grade. And it just makes no sense to me. And as crazy as that one is, this one was even crazier. This was a Slave 1 diecast, again, loose graded by AFA. I actually like this case a lot, but still, it doesn't compare at all. I mean, it's like apples and oranges in terms of the presentation that CAS does with their loose graded Slave 1. I've got a really great one, and mine's graded, I believe, 85. This one is admittedly an uncirculated 90, so very, very high grade, probably the highest grade on the population report for AFA. But look at the list price. It was listed for $11.95, and for whatever reason, the website I used for tracking what the final sales price was, it would not pull this up no matter what I did. So I'm assuming it sold for at least $1,000. Now, again, I've got an 85 grade, loose graded CAS Slave 1. I paid $60 for mine, and then let's call it maybe another $100 or so in grading cost. But are you really going to pay $1,000 for a U90 versus a CAS 85 that is, in my opinion, a much better case and presentation? It's just crazy what some collectors are willing to pay for these. And again, no judgment. If that's what you want to spend your money on and you happen to be the buyer of these two diecasts, have at it. But to me, these prices make no sense when you can buy these loose yourself with a careful eye and zoom in on them and make sure they're in good shape. I bought my Slave 1 on eBay, and it was like $60 or less. It might have been like $45. And I got my TIE Advance from Chris W. over at Rogue 5 Toys for about $65, somewhere in there. So, you know, it's much more affordable to buy them and grade them yourself. The only caveat is that CAS takes absolutely forever for their loose diecast vehicles. Forever. I think Chris got some back. He's got the whole run of diecast vehicles, or at least, you know, a half dozen of them, and they took almost a year. So just keep that in mind. And I understand that, you know, yes, there should be a slight premium for AFA uncirculated grades, but not that much of a premium, and that's just craziness. I would never pay that. Here's a 4-LOM sealed baggie. This would be like what you'd find on the 47 back 4-LOM offer. So this is what would be mailed away to you in a box. And this one was listed for $75. That sold for $68. $68 for a nice heat sealed baggie 4-LOM. That's a pretty great deal. That's about what they go for or more on Facebook. So I think someone got a really good deal there. As you can see, the lettering on that baggie is in really great shape. So, I mean, that's like an 85 or 85 plus baggie, in my opinion. And to get that for $68 plus $10 shipping, that's a pretty good deal. A couple other baggies that sold. This was a Han Solo in his Hoth gear in a made in China baggie. That one was listed for $149. That sold for $120. That was the offer that was accepted, $120. And the baggie was fully sealed on that one. Same seller, I believe, had this one, which is the Hoth Rebel Commander in a sealed baggie, made in Hong Kong. This one looks like a tape sealed baggie. It's hard to tell in the photos, but it looks like there's a piece of tape there on the back, on the bottom there. That one sold for $150. It was listed at $199, so free shipping as well. So those are pretty good data points for those of you looking for some baggies. This price too, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I understand that this is an AFA 85, 41 back A survival kit offer for the Imperial Commander, but it's punched. And in my opinion, at least based on these photos, that blister is starting to yellow a little bit. If you look in that top left corner there, to me, it looks like it's starting to yellow. And even down the bottom is actually even easier to tell right in here. You can see where it's starting to yellow a little bit. And so this is a classic case of buy the item, don't buy the grade. Somebody bought the grade on this one, and in my opinion, they overpaid for it. They paid $1,280 on 17 bids, free shipping. And I'm not saying it shouldn't go for a lot of money because it is a high grade item, but it's yellowed. It is a yellowed blister in my opinion. And you gotta really zoom in on these photos to make sure you know what you're buying. It's just, there's no way that this is not yellowed. If you look right in here especially, it's starting to yellow there. And that's going to happen with some of these clear blister ESBs or Return of the Jedis, even 12 backs. And you just got to know what you're buying and be willing to pay what you're paying. But in my opinion, this is a drastic overpay, given that the blister is starting to yellow a little bit. Now here's one, I think it is a clear blister. It's really nice, 41 back D, offerless 21B, unpunched as well. Really nice example. That one was graded 80, 85, 85. That sold for $866 on free shipping. That's right in line with market, where we've seen them sell for probably more on Hakes for the exact same card back. So I think for an unpunched clear blister 21B, that's, you know, $750 if you're lucky for an 80 grade or above. But you know, $866 on eBay is probably about right. I mean, you're going to pay a little bit more on eBay. That's just the fact of it. Here was a debut card for Luke Skywalker, the Star Wars display arena. This was a yellowed 80, 45 back, and you know, you can see that very clearly that's yellowed there. But still a beautiful Luke, and you know, anytime you get a debut card, whether it's yellowed or not, if it's in high grade, you know, you're going to be paying quite a bit for it. And I thought this price was actually pretty fair. $660 was a great price. I paid more than that for my 47 back Forlom that was graded AFA yellowed 80. So I think that price was very fair. Admittedly, mine didn't have the big price sticker right there on the front of the card, that Toys R Us price sticker. But, you know, given what I paid for a later card back versus the same grade, you know, debut card, I think this was a steal of a deal. Next up, we got a 48 back Revenge of the Jedi AFA 75 R2-D2 sensor scope. Really nice item there. And this was unpunched, no price sticker. That sold for $845. And when this thing was at auction, one of my Patreon supporters, David S., who's got a nice little R2-D2 run going, you know, I sent it to him and said, hey, in case you want to bid on this, this is up for auction right now. And he's like, where do you think it'll sell? And I said $800 or so. I might have said $800 to $850. So I was pretty close. $845 took that home. I think that's a pretty fair price, just given what it is, and certainly a beautiful card back. Here is a transition card. Free Neonum offer, Return of the Jedi 48 back. It was yellowed. It was ungraded, but it's certainly in excellent condition. It was punched, just a little bit of wear here and there with the yellowed blister. That one sold 37 bids in Australia for 660 Australian dollars or 463 US dollars. But it's just further proof, and we've talked about that in recent videos, that transition Return of the Jedi 48 backs command big money because they were only produced for a limited amount of time. They only have Empire Strikes Back characters on Return of the Jedi card backs, and they have become a very desirable subgenre, so to speak, for collecting. I thought this was a pretty good deal. This was a Taiwan Luke Jedi AFA 85, brand new case style. Very nice example. That one sold at auction for $235 and change, plus $10 shipping. I think that was a great price, whoever picked that up, for a Luke Jedi flesh face Taiwan. And here was an ungraded 65 back R2-D2 sensor scope. A little bit of yellowing going on the blister, but overall probably like a 75 plus or even maybe an 80 grade condition if memory serves. One of these that this seller had, yeah, this is like 75-ish. I forgot about that crease up there. He's got one other one that we'll talk about in a second. But I think, you know, 180 bucks, that's a pretty good price. Pretty good price for like a 75-ish grade yellowed blister 65 back. This price was an absolute mind-melting craziness. I cannot believe this price. This was a yellowed 65 back Admiral Akbar. Now, admittedly, it's very lightly yellowed, and it blends in nicely with that cream background where Admiral Akbar is inside, you know, during the Battle of the Death Star. AFA 85 yellowed, 80, 85, 90 were the subgrades. And I believe this is his debut card, but don't quote me on that. 65 back A. Pretty sure that's his debut card. Very gorgeous item. It was unpunched with a Lionel price sticker. So I'm not saying it's not desirable. I was thinking on the outside $400 to $500. It sold for $910, which to me is complete insanity for a yellowed blister. I could see that maybe at Hakes and with a clear blister, but it is a lightly yellowed blister, and admittedly, you know, it does present much nicer than the typical 65 back Akbar with a yellowed blister. It's very faint yellowing. But how long does that yellowing going to stay like that? I mean, it could only get worse from here. So I think that, in my opinion, is an overpay. I'm not saying it's not desirable. I certainly would have loved to have had it. but I would have paid about half that price. That seems a little high to me. Here was another one. This is the other one I wanted to talk about. This is a 77 ABAC Han Solo Hoth, beautiful clear blister, and it was punched, no price sticker, and it sold for $255. And you're like, why did it only sell for $255? Well, the reason is it's got handwriting right here, and you can see it looks like 4018 is written on the back of the card. Now, for those of you who do buy mint on cards and like to get them graded, this would be precluded from grading. Anything with ink touch-ups or handwriting on the actual card back, the grading companies will not touch it. Now, if you've got a price sticker, if a price sticker's got printed out, like $2.49 Kmart, and then someone had scratched through the price sticker and hand wrote in, $1.49 on the price sticker versus the actual card back, that would still be okay to get graded. But anytime you got handwriting on the card back, to my knowledge, they will not grade this item because it's considered ink touch-up or handwriting on the card. It's no longer a true mint on card, untouched post retail. So, that's why the price stayed where it was, even though it was a clear blister, beautiful Han Solo. And, if you don't care about grading, this would be a perfect example of the type of item you'd go for. If you're not into graded figures, this is a great option because it presents much nicer than the typical $255 77A Han Solo because it's clear. It's got the clear blister. Most of those are yellowed. So I think to get that for $255, if you're a non-grading kind of guy and you hate grading, this is the kind of item I'd want to pick up in my collection. Here's another really good one I thought. This one was a Chewbacca on the same car back, the 77A. And it was kind of partially punched, but the punch is still, attached. And pretty good shape overall. It looks like down here, it's got some handwriting again. The 97 has been written on the barcode there. And again, that's probably why it stayed where it did. It sold for $344, even though this is the very desirable alternate cardback photo, Rockstar Chewbacca, and a clear blister. So, somebody wrote down there on that barcode, as you can see there on the left-hand side of that barcode, it says 97 in handwriting. Again, this would be precluded from being graded, but it's a clear blister, basically unpunched, and to get that for $344 is a good deal. So there are still deals out there if you're not into grading and you're willing to accept those kind of flaws, especially if they're on the back where you're not going to see them anyway on display. So final one is a 77 back A Squid head, clear blister, unpunched. This looks absolutely case fresh. It was really tempting. Chris W. over at Rogue 5 Toys sent me this one. I'm still in need of a U.S. cardback Squid head. I've got the Palatoy Tri-Logo, I've got the Sakuda Japanese, and I've got the Made in Mexico Lily Letty for the U.S. market, but I don't have any U.S. cardbacks. So this one would have been perfect for my collection to add to my Squid head run, but alas, I spent too much money at Hakes, so I had to stay off of this one. This one did sell. It didn't take long. It took about a day before it did finally sell. $299.95 plus $10 shipping. And I've bought from this seller before, by the way, CAS selling stuff, or case selling stuff. I've bought a couple of mint on cards from this seller. He always packages primo, and I'm always really happy with the items. And he always provides lots of nice angles and photos. But that was a gorgeous 77 ABAC Squid head, unpunched. I mean, that thing looks like it's straight off out of a Kenner sealed factory case. So anyway, just some more price data for those of you collecting mainly mint on card. I sprinkled in a few loose graded, the Diecast, some baggies, and no slowdown in prices really yet, but hopefully we will see a little bit of a slowdown, and so things become more affordable for those of us looking to add to our collection, as it seems like the economy is starting to slow down a little bit. Lots of negativity out there with the stock market and interest rates and inflation, so maybe that will translate into cheaper prices for those of us looking to add to our collections this summer and next fall. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back soon.